Welcome to the Northeast Podcast. This is Chapter 2, Episode 1, after having a very successful last year, which we classify as Chapter 1, and moving on to better things. So, welcome. My name's Kieran, and this is Ben. Nice to be back doing this after a bit of a break from it, after a busy summer. How are you doing, Ben? How's things?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Obviously, last week we were at the lakes and we had a bit of a holiday after a tough year with the work that we put in over last winter and at the start of this year. So it was nice to get out for a week and just relax and chill a bit. But yeah, on to the second chapter and what's to come at the end of 2021 and into 2022.
Yeah, the chapter's a scooter reference, by the way, for anyone listening. Obviously, that's our go-to artist when it comes to...
It wasn't, of course. It was Kieran's suggestion.
We both agreed on it. We just came back from a week away after not really having a day off for a good sort of, who knows what, 18 months or whatever we've been pushing this thing. We're sort of refreshed and ready to go into this next block, which we're sort of targeting the autumn marathons, Great North Run, a lot of us doing rock and roll at Liverpool, a lot of us are finishing off a track season as well. But the big goals of the autumn stuff and what we're heading towards there. A good sort of 4-month focus for a lot of people some who've had marathons delayed for over a year or 18 months have been training through COVID for a long time. So this one's going to mean a lot to a lot of people, I think, who are doing those autumn marathons.
Yeah, exactly. I think also our break gives other athletes who've been pushing for 18 months an opportunity to just step back a bit, relax, and then push into what's going to be a tough autumn and some massive goals for some people. So it's important that people have done that, which is brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. We all need a break, and we only train so hard for so long, and then we need to reset, detrain, and then come back at it. That's the natural ways of how our human body works, and we have to respect that, don't we? Obviously, we're both been through that. And it's not just physically sometimes, but mentally. You might feel like you're lacking motivation sometimes. It's going to be a topic of this podcast, actually, about focus and motivation. But yeah, I think it either starts with physical burnout and then becomes mental burnout. And then it's a bit of both, and then you just end up in a hole, which I've experienced a lot in these last couple of months.
Yeah, well, obviously this is our first podcast in a few months. So for most of you who maybe just watch the podcast, don't really see anything else outside, we probably haven't seen the update from us too. So, Kieran, how have you been over the last few months with our training?
Obviously going to touch on it, but after the marathon in April, May and June, so 2 months, I guess, of sort of not really heading anywhere. But I also appreciated that I was never going to start my marathon block until this week, so I was never going to push towards anything really. I haven't exactly raced. Did Hadrian's Wall relay, which really killed me for a month. Felt a bit beaten up from that. I felt a bit ill. I went through a period of being quite ill. And I guess we've been really busy with our coaching. And obviously you open up a lockdown, which I'm going to touch on. It's all in one really. It's been quite a difficult period for me. I'm hoping that now, starting this marathon block into Manchester, 14 weeks away, I can put my head down and get back in that vibe of what served us, well back in late winter and spring.
Yeah, 100%. You had a really good, focused, consistent set of training, especially before the marathon, a good 2-3 months before. So, hopefully that's another chance for you to have a go at that in Manchester in 14 weeks' time and get that consistency back.
Yeah. It's just been a very difficult couple of months, really. Lots of reasons, and I think when your head's not in the game, you just can't push yourself through those, 120, 30-mile weeks. When really, I knew I was never going to push towards anything. It was just the odd races, racing for a pizza or racing for a pie. It doesn't necessarily chicken hours on my seat. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing really exciting out there, and I couldn't start a marathon block before this week, so I guess I was just floating along. And if it all goes well in the autumn, then I'll be happy that I just floated along.
Yeah, I don't think that's the end of the world that you've floated along for a month or two. Obviously, I think you sort of, especially when you step back for a week and you look at, reflect, and you see what you've been doing, you sort of realise what the structure's been like, and you know how to change and implement it. So it's always not the end of the world. You can sort of find out what you've been doing wrong and what you need to improve on.
Obviously, I've been sort of training with you, Ben, and I know you've had a similar story, really. And a bit of injury coming off Hadrian's Wall as well.
Yeah, well, the Hadrian's Wall wasn't very nice to me. I couldn't get any sort of rhythm going, especially just starting off the first 2K. Everything after that was just pain. It was getting worse and worse. So it wasn't the nicest experience for me as an athlete. But the whole relay was really exciting to see. But yeah, then after that, obviously, I got my new pair of trains, went down to running with Dean. Got myself, tried 8 to 10 different pairs of trainers on the treadmill. And we did the biomechanical analysis in the gait and stuff. So got myself a new pair of hockers, and they've seemed to really sort me out at the moment. Obviously, adding the S&C in as well, staying consistent with that 3 times a week, trying to build up my carts a little bit more because that was one of the weaknesses I sort of identified. So everything's just sort of coming together at the moment. It's a bit too late. Obviously, I've got 4 weeks to my triathlon, which isn't the longest time to train, of course. But for me, it's just a year of just try and experiment in different activities and different disciplines and see what I want to do and having a bit of an experiment. Obviously, I got the half marathon at Liverpool in the next few months, which I've never done that before, so it's another new experience for me. So I guess I'm just sort of experimenting and see where it takes me, and then I'll decide after that what I really want to do. I think also the Northeast Championships in August at the Sports Village. We'll probably enter the 1500 then for the seniors race. So there's a lot of variability there, which I'm looking forward to get stuck into.
Yeah, you definitely are experimenting a lot of different things.
Yeah.
How do you find your focus on that when you've got so many different things to target?
Yeah, I like it. I like the variability of being able to do 3 different sports in 1 week and having that difference and change in scenery. You know, I can go for a morning swim and then go for a running session in the afternoon. So, but as I say, I'm just sort of working out and learning about how I balance all 3 together, which will take me a few months, of course. But as with anything that's new, it takes time and practice makes perfect. So I'll get
around working 12 hours a day as well.
Yeah, well, I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges for us, isn't it? But at the end of the day, we've got to put our athletics near the top of the priority list because we're only this age once and we only get this opportunity once.
True. But we're not saying if you're getting on a bit that you can't do it. We're not giving that message away.
It's definitely not what I was saying.
There's plenty of athletes within our club who are smashing it in their older years and they're on the road to getting England best, so they might have one already. So, yeah, age is no barrier. That was the previous podcast.
Well, it just shows what you can do with consistent training and structured training towards a personal point of view. You know, obviously, it's obvious that it seems to work with a lot of the athletes in the club.
Absolutely. So, touching on what we have been doing the last 2 months. So, we went through over 2 months since we've done a podcast. We never actually had a post reflection of the marathon attempt back in April. Probably because we were so dissatisfied from it. Although some people absolutely smashed it, and fair play to Andy, Darren, Mark, 2 Darrens, Mark and Craig. Obviously, me and Caroline both didn't do the whole thing, but we used it as a good training experience. But those lads absolutely smashed it, and we got some fantastic results from it. Fair play to them. Obviously, Mark went sub-3. Darren and Andy from Billingham went sub-3 as well. Craig just outside 3:05. And Darren Clements around 3:20. What were they? 3:20, 3:30?
3:20.
I thought it was 3:20. So yeah, those guys really hit it well. Fair play to Craig hanging on there in his marathon. I know we talked about it before and a few posts and things, but he's really suffering with a few miles to go. Not a few miles to go for the second half, and really stuck in there. Mark smashed it and hit his targets really well. It was fantastic to see that, and yeah. For me personally, I had a bit of a difficult experience, but I wouldn't say it was a bad one because I managed to get 20 miles on the pace that I wanted to hit for GB qualification, and around industrial state, I'd take that. I didn't beat myself up from it, so I think it was a good learning experience. Although I realised just how hard the marathon was, and how much you have to devote your life towards it. Because what I did in training wasn't enough to reach my goal. Big goal, but big goals are out there to be smashed, and I need to work a lot harder in this block, or a lot smarter at least. I did have a good evaluation of what went well and what went wrong. There's a few things in there, I guess, which I've tried to change the last 2 months. A lot of it coming from business structure, I guess. But I think recovery time for me between training and not really looking after myself enough is probably a factor. And I think I went into the marathon tired. I think you can't.
I was actually going to ask you for the people who are listening from your self-reflection, Graham, because obviously it was your first marathon, especially on the road as well. It was just purely dedicated to NEP. Obviously, the industrial state, and you mentioned there about not training harder, training smarter. What's your sort of reflection on the marathon? What would you want to take into these next 14 weeks that maybe other people can take into their training?
Yeah. I would say well, it depends on the cycle that you're coming in from it. So I've run a good mileage all year, so I've got a good base. So I don't necessarily need to run. I don't need to bump my miles up excessively too much different to what I'm doing already. So 100 miles for me is the norm. I don't think I need to do any more than 120. Then experiment with some 130s and 150s, and I think it left me a bit too tired. There's a lot of garbage miles in there as well. For me, the marathon specific sessions are key, although not too important in the last 5 or 4 weeks before the marathon. I think I did too many long sessions, so like things like 18, 20 miles a marathon pace before the actual marathon. And I said to you the other day, I thought that I think I did 19 miles at 5:20 pace in a session on a windy industrial estate on my own. I thought that was the best session I did. The actual attempt was worse than that. So I think I probably overcooked it later on in terms of the hard sessions. And I needed more hard sessions, more marathon specific sessions of running at marathon pace for an extended period of time. No point running long easy runs and just interval sessions. You need that marathon pace stuff. It's the benchmark, that Renato Canova sort of philosophy. So I would have more of that. I mean, I've got 13 weeks of marathon specific sessions lined up. I only did 5 marathon specific actual sessions in the last block. So double that, I might stand a more comfortable chance of hitting the pace. Obviously, I've got to run 26 miles at 5:19 pace, so there's no hiding from the fact that you've got to feel comfortable at that intensity. And I never went longer than 20 miles enough, I thought. So not just marathon pace, but in general and volume, I need more runs over 20 miles.
Yeah, did you feel like you sort of hit a wall a bit after?
Well, I did. 20 miles I hit a wall, but I was naive with the fueling strategy. I probably didn't take enough on earlier on, mainly because in training I didn't take it on. It was a very cold period during all the sessions, and then the weather sort of warmed up quite a lot for the marathon day, and I wasn't quite used to running that hard for that long in those conditions. Mm-hmm. Similar experience to some people in London maybe a couple of years ago, really. Mm-hmm. And everyone bonked and all that stuff. So yeah, it was quite a hot day to what we came in from. Probably 10 degrees warmer than what it had been in training. So that was different. But yeah, fueling. I need to work on fueling in my long runs. Not just long easy runs. I mean, you can run them without any fuel. But marathon specific sessions when you're burning carbs at high intensity, you need to feel right because you will run out of calories at 20 miles. And for me, it wasn't muscular fatigue. It was running out of calories. It wasn't. That wasn't the problem. It was simply my muscles were fine, and I just ran out of energy. So.
Yeah, but I think it's important to sort of, I wouldn't say the mistakes necessarily, but they're just learning curves to take into your next marathon. And obviously, there was a great opportunity to, obviously, it wasn't a mass participation race, so it was, and you'd be running with other people as well at Manchester. Let's not forget that, in similar paces. So you got other people to work off, whether you prefer that or not, because obviously you've had a few months where you've been training by yourself.
I love the fact of running around just to stay on my own, to be honest. But I think it's good. It's no distraction. But there's that, and I think the recovery aspect outside the sleep was a killer. Probably some cumulative fatigue over weeks, and generally just not looking after myself, the finer details. Didn't have a pair of carbon shoes on either, so take 10 minutes off.
Take 10 minutes off.
That's maybe something that I'll probably consider for Manchester, since everyone else is doing it. I mean, never worn a Nike pair of trainers, but I hear that they're pretty good. So,
yeah. You can't step on the start line.
The Adidas version actually pretty good. Adidas carbon plate, new shoe that's just came out.
I think Saucony have just released one that looked quite nice as well.
Yeah. So all the companies are obviously trying to
stepping
compete,
up.
Which you have to compete, otherwise you've got a business, right? I mean, that front end, won't get any sponsorship for athletes. I've seen it so many times in races where athletes are wearing Nike shoes and they're sponsored by someone else. It seems to be happening a lot because they have a performance disadvantage if they don't have a carbon plate or a new pair of spikes or whatever. So it's definitely a big factor.
Yeah.
Why would you want to be a disadvantage?
Exactly.
Why train so hard to have a disadvantage? So,
yeah, exactly.
We want to win. We want to win things, and we don't want to, not reach our goals because of something on our feet.
Getting every edge possible.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's there's a lot of things, and I think there's consistency again, which I would like. And the tapering aspect, I think, was quite cool on my part. I ran a 100-mile week probably a week where I did a 100-mile week before a week before. At Brunswick Bay, and I thought that it was probably a bit too close, but because I've been doing such high volume for such a long period of time, it was a struggle to drop that mileage really. Yeah, everyone feels awful dropping mileage and tapering, but you've got to do it, and you've got to find a way to do it sensibly and give you that performance edge. But like I said, I thought I felt tired for the day, and I think that's the job. That's what did it.
Yeah.
So I think I learned from all that. Yeah. So moving on to other things, we did quite a few events in May and in June. So we had the Dream Team 5K back in May. We did around Industrial Estate again, our square skewer. We had a fantastic time there in graded races. That was one of the first. That was what was that? That was after the April one. So that was the first sort of race back, wasn't it? After COVID, and this was sort of the second Dream Team event in spring. 5Ks. That was fantastic. Some good times there. And I think touching on the next point about motivation and all that, I think it was a good, probably one of the reasons at the moment why motivation is quite low. I think it's the change environment as well, but the fact we didn't have a target club race in June, I think it's been a big factor, which we did have in May. But anyway, so we had the Dream Team 5K in May, which everyone excelled in and smashed some amazing PBs and showed some great progression in the club. At the end of May, we did the Hadrian's Wall Relay on what day was it? Was it 21st of May? I want to say somewhere around there. We ran from one end of the country to the other again, and that was fun. It was a different relay event. We had never ran the Hadrian's Wall before, and yeah, we learned more to take into our next relay, which we're doing in the Coast to Coast in August. I think every time we do a relay, it seems to we learn something new. And it's such a tough event to logistically organise. Yeah, we thank everyone who got involved in that and had a great theme about it. So one of the themes was for Mark Lowe to run the whole thing. He got 56 miles, and I call it a day after a very tough leg over set and stones, which is an absolute brutal section of that Hadrian's Wall. It absolutely killed me. I think it took us a month to recover from that section, that 9 miles. Over the toughest bit in the middle. Fantastic scenery, but yeah, you don't appreciate it when you're tired. So yeah, we ran the Hadrian's Wall. That was great. And then we moved on to some other events outside of, I guess, what we were setting up, and sort of linking in with what Northeast Athletics Association was setting up, or other things. So we started with the Northeast 10,000 metre championships at Shildon, where we had a second place finisher and a third place finisher, Caroline Teasdale. Came second in the women's race, and Kim Singh got her first ever medal, and was her first ever, I want to say, official race for NEP, at least on the track. Got a bronze medal in the women's 10,000 metres, so absolutely fantastic. And yeah, what a great support team we had there as well. Pretty quiet event. Not many people, not many clubs, so-called big clubs, giving it the respect that it deserves. I think more people should do it. Maybe it's linked to the setup of the event, but I think more clubs should definitely go along and do it. It could be a fantastic night of race. 25 laps of the track is done, but at the end of the day, it's 10k, and we can all race. Most of us can race 10k, and we want to compete at a good regional level. We had many from the club doing it of all abilities. So many names to mention, but it was fantastic to see all abilities not being daunted by the track. It tends to have an elite vibe to it, which we're trying to get rid of with the events we're setting up. But we want to encourage people to do all these type of things out there, because these are inclusive events that they're great opportunities to get involved in athletics. And more recently, just coming off the weekend, we saw our juniors, Noah and Albie, racing the National Junior Cross Country Championships in Leicester, Market Harbour. And that was fantastic. Noah placed fourth in his race, fourth in the country, and Albie placed a fantastic 22nd in the country, which is just amazing to watch the lads. Ran so strong, so brave. What was your thoughts on the event?
Yeah, it was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, the adrenaline rushing from the start to finish of them running up and down the race was brilliant. But they're just such confident lads, and they've got so much potential. They give it absolutely everything, and that's all you can ask for an athlete, especially when they put so many hard months of training that those two lads have to just get on the start line, give it passion and determination and desire to give it all you've got. And you couldn't have asked for a single second more than any of those two. They give absolutely everything. So fair play to the lads, and especially such a young age. So mature and determined, brilliant, really good performance from Albion now.
Absolutely. If anyone doesn't know the sort of the background of the two lads, I mean, they trained through us very, very intensely throughout the winter, through all sorts of weather. I remember pulling up to a session with Albion in the industrial state. We don't always go there, by the way. We do sessions in the place. We just loved it in the winter. It was only the Greg's right next to in the winter. It was like a savior. Everything closed. It was fantastic. But I remember pulling up to a session in the deep snow, doing a 2-mile time trial in February or something with Alvin. You know, Noah coming down, driving all the way down from Berkeley to do sessions in Sedgefield and Tayside and the snow. And, you know, just to see them, we'll coach them every week intensely throughout the whole winter. And it's just fantastic to see them progressing and doing some amazing things with a smile on their face.
Yeah.
You want to see them in training, they're absolutely fantastic to watch. And they're role models to everyone else in the session.
I was going to say that they're such role models to everyone else, and it doesn't matter about age or ability. You know, if you've got that desire and that commitment to your training, ultimately it's going to rub off and show on other people. And they're just such committed lads. Give it
really grateful to have them. We've got a fantastic junior section, which has grown, and yeah, they're gonna do amazing things because they've got the right support and they've got the right attitude. And it's very exciting watching them. So young with so much to do. Yeah.
That's the thing. They've got so many opportunities coming up in the future as well. I mean, they're only young, so they'll have years and years of athletics and learning and progressing. So it's going to be an exciting future for those two lads.
Absolutely, fantastic. So moving on to what we've got coming up. So this podcast, I guess, is just a reset of what's happened, what we've got coming up, what's to get excited for, what's the focus. So this weekend we've got a training weekend in the lakes. So something we want to do for a long time. We've done a lot of workshops. We've worked with different areas and workshops, but we're taking it to a whole weekend over in Penrith at Ullswater. They're going to be doing a bit of fell running, a bit of science in there, a bit of social activity. We're climbing the Mountain Helvellyn. And yeah, we're just going to overall have a fantastic weekend of training and get our heads in the right game, have a load of fun doing it. And yeah, it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be fantastic.
Obviously, we've got everything next all week.
Yeah, we've got everything going on with the sessions on Saturday, and obviously the climb at Helvellyn on Sunday, which is a good 9-20 meters. Big walk.
50, but
yeah, somewhere around that range. And so obviously that's going to be exciting as well. Some people haven't done that before, so it's new experience. So it's nice for people to sort of just escape to the normal environment and go explore a little bit and sort of see what's out there in the legs with the NEP, which would be fantastic.
Yeah, you get to see how many. When Ben climbs the mountain, he doesn't just walk up the thing and come back down. He has to collect as many rocks as possible for his family. And he comes down. It's a lot harder to come down, Ben, isn't it? That bag you got to carry. You know, how many rocks?
Almost half the way of the mountain for the amount of rocks I bring down. No, I bring some down for the family, some for the grandparents.
The mountains in the Lake District are decreasing in height.
Everyone just look at me and just like, what's he doing? But yeah, obviously we did Scaffold Pike on the Tuesday, which was quite the climb. That's a similar distance to that, so that'll be a challenge for some people, but a good challenge, you know, good opportunity to people to show. Otherwise,
a bit off topic, but I thought that amazing to see so many people of different sort of abilities climbing some really severe mountains in the lakes.
Well, I must say, so it took us 3 hours, didn't it? And like. It was quite a struggle for us, to be fair, wasn't it? Like,
3 hours.
It wasn't exactly.
Was it 3 hours? Sorry,
well, 1.5 hours at 1 hour. But it wasn't exactly a piece of cake. It was quite hard to be able to do that. So, and then saw Claire there as well. Claire Scott, of course.
We saw one of our members as we were on holiday, halfway up Scarfell.
Yeah, I don't have proof that she climbed all the way to the top.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was nice to see everyone have a go at that, and as you say, so many different ages and abilities, which is brilliant. Exactly what NEP's about, really.
It's great. So we've got training weekend this weekend, and then next Saturday we've got the NEP Festival of Athletics. So this is afternoon and evening of graded 1 mile and 5k racing at Middlesbrough Sports Village. Open to all clubs and abilities, stressing the all abilities factor. We want to see as many different abilities there as possible, smashing it around the track. And yeah, we're going to have possibly up to 12 races, so how it might work out. And yeah, it's our first, if you like, official track race that we're organising, so it's quite exciting.
Yeah, obviously we've done a few events before where we bring down the music, we make it a bit of an electric atmosphere, so that's going to be nice to sort of implement that on the track. And obviously we've done a few track days with the project members, and they've thoroughly enjoyed that, so it'll be a good experience for some of them to jump onto the track as well. But overall it's going to be a really exciting night, obviously on a Saturday as well, so plenty of stuff to look forward to, and going to be some exciting races on the track.
Yeah, we do have some extra things we might just throw in that event to just spice it up a little bit. But yeah, you'll see that coming in the coming days. But yeah, we're trying to give it a bit of flair, a bit of excitement, to make athletics good. We want to see spectators there as well. Obviously, we're allowed to do that now. We want to see people watching local athletics. There's some great athletes coming down from all corners of the northeast. And yeah, we want to see people competing and giving their all, and some close graded racing where anyone can win. Yeah, I'm looking forward just to watching them all.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing as well. We're not just organisers, but we're also supporters of the sport, but we also athletes. So we're going to be there encouraging people as well and telling people to give it their all.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we've got that. And then we've got the return of parkrun, which has obviously been delayed. Some people are really up for it, and I think it's a great community thing every Saturday. And it's been a great starting point for a lot of people in the sport. Yeah, we've both got mixed views on parkrun, but it's not. Yeah, it's not the point of the podcast, but yeah, I think it's fantastic. But yeah, it shouldn't be the main focus every week.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get sucked into racing parkrun every week, but let's not take away. It's a brilliant event that gives people the opportunity to run 5k every week, which is brilliant. But obviously, a lot of people get sucked into racing every single week.
Yeah, I mean, everyone who's joined at NEP would say, I started a parkrun, or that would be a story for a lot of people, and to have that pathway into the sport is really important for our sport to progress. So fair play for such fantastic organisation for people.
Exactly.
Do it for free, ultimately.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously those people give up the time on a weekend to give 200, 300 runners in all different parts across the UK a chance to race a 5k, which is brilliant, because some people don't have that opportunity and maybe don't feel safe during the week, especially in winter, to be able to go out and express themselves and ultimately give the sport a go. And you've got to think about me and you as well, Kieran, and everyone else. We all started at beginner sessions and taster groups, so it's important for people to give that opportunity, provide that.
I guess our job is taking these park runners who come into sort of the project, last section comes in there, and showing them the whole broad spectrum of what athletics is. And that's sort of the next step, I think. I think what I would encourage people who do attend park runners that that's sort of the be all and end all. Explore more than that. Keep it in your regime, and by all means, stick at it. And but there's a big world of things you can do out there. And yeah, talk to people at parkrun, because you'll be surprised at what type of people are there. Who can give you different opportunities. And yeah, obviously got junior parkrun as well, which is another separate thing, really. So many people doing such activity, but it's important to look beyond that as well. What's that going to lead to? What's the other developmental pathways from that? That's what we're trying to do for the members that we get coming in from that sort of source.
Exactly, 100%. Yeah, it's about developing people from these grassroots and push them into achieving the best.
Yeah, and then so a week after that, the parkrun's the 19th, isn't it, July? Week after that, we've got the Vale of York 10 miler on Tuesday, which a lot of people are doing. And then we've got the Northeast 5k Road Championships in Sunderland on the Thursday, on the 22nd of July, which is also the Durham 10k and 5k, I want to believe, as well. So yeah, we're trying to coordinate people towards that. And obviously there's tons of events out there at the moment. So before, in our previous sort of episodes, we were probably talking about limited events that are going ahead, or if they're going to go ahead. But it looks like they're all sort of alive and well. And obviously Great North, I heard on the radio today that the chief executive said that he's going to go ahead, so keep training for it. So no backing out now.
Yeah, no hiding now.
That's just great, isn't it? It's great to be returning back. yeah, we've got that. And then we got your triathlon. That's one
On
of our focuses, isn't it?
Saturday, yeah, and there's a few of them running the half
Some others
marathons.
are doing that, yeah.
So that should be exciting.
Absolutely. And then we've got the Coast to Coast in August, which we're going to start to build some momentum to starting this week. It's another relay in the height of summer, so it's the best time to do it. Can we learn from everything we've done before and take it in? That's including you, we've done it before as well. But yeah, we're looking forward to rolling that out and getting that branding and getting that out there and building towards that. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I think when you've done something once before, it's so much easier to identify what you've sort of missed and then add that into the next one. So this should be really exciting.
Yeah, it will. But yes, that's for something else. But yeah, so that's sort of covering what we're doing in July at least, and we haven't necessarily announced loads what we're doing in August yet. After the Coast to Coast. Moving on to the second part of what we're doing here on this podcast will be to look at sort of training focus and motivation. I think it's a big topic that we're trying to work on within the project and we're seeing from outside in the general running community and what we're feeling ourselves as athletes. Some things that we want to change, yeah?
Yeah, 100%. But of course, everything's got to change because your environment's changed as well. So you've got to adapt to the environment change, which to be honest has been quite hard to do because it's changed so many times with lockdown restrictions over the last 2 years. So it's not just something that you can just necessarily switch, but something we have to get in place, especially for some of us who've got big targets heading into autumn and winter.
Yeah. So you touched on the first point is changing environment. So when it's very easy to control sort of people's training and focus when in a lockdown environment goes hand in hand with what we do. But when you're putting other factors in there, drive people towards a goal, and there's so many different things going on, if you like. So, for example, sorry, connection went off it there, Ben. But can you hear me, Ben?
Yeah, I can hear.
All good, awesome. So it was very easy in lockdown to sort of drive people towards goals when there's not other distractions. Now, the biggest challenge we have now is that how do we fit this project and what we do in our ethos into the normal environment again? Because you've got to be ultimately disciplined, focused, and consistent as an athlete. And if you're around those three, then you're going to fail in what you do. Ultimately, so it's a new challenge for us because this is something that we've never faced before. We're sort of created, if you like, in a lockdown. So coming out of lockdown, this is a new way for us to coach, and for learning, we have to learn quite quick.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously those three disciplines that you've just mentioned there about the commitment and being disciplined and focused on your trade and ultimately has to be the goal. And it's about saying you don't have to be great every day, but being good every day and being consistent in what you're doing and make sure you've got your structure and your targets set out. That's so important, especially when you've got these distractions and different environment changes that of course we all go through. Because obviously we've all got different stuff on, especially now lockdown start to end. So it's about having a structure and knowing before the week even starts what your week's going to look like. So when you get to Sunday, you can be happy with what you've done. You can tell that you've done everything right. And it also means you can fit other stuff in and around that.
Yeah. So for the listeners, whether it's people within NEP or people outside of NEP, as athletes and what we're trying to do, let's give some tips to the listeners on what we personally, what tactics do we use to stay focused, disciplined, consistent, and motivated?
Mm-hmm.
So, should we go one each? Put ourselves on the spot. You go first, Ben.
I'll start. I think the number one, especially what we've sort of seen, and especially May and June, is having a target. That's so important. And a lot of us sort of get stuck in the same sort of target, maybe a sub 25k or like a very general. You've got to pick a race and you've got to pick a target that you can work within a 2 to 3 month period that's ultimately going to make you so consistent and so focused towards that target where nothing's going to be able to stop it because you want to achieve it so bad. And a lot of people have sort of been trying to treat the same particular goal or the same sort of structure or goal for the past few years and maybe haven't achieved it and just sort of whirled away and sort of hit a baseline. So for me, I sort of say, make a target, especially within a 2-3 month period, that you know you're going to set, and a race as well, a specific race that you know on that day that you're going to be able to run, and maybe change it up as well, make it more consistent. If you've been trying to beat your 5K target, just to a 10K, or try something different that's going to give you a bit of a refresh, and then maybe you can jump back into that after you do that race.
Yeah, absolutely. No target, then what you're working towards,
Exactly. What's the point of training? Yeah.
So I guess thinking that your target would be to have a plan to reach that target, and I guess that's what we're built on. What NEP is built on is personalised plans. And if you don't have a plan, then you think, what exactly are you doing in the week towards? How close are you getting to your goal? So you need a plan that is specific to your event, to your big goal. That's the event specific. It's got to be progressive, so you've got to be progressing towards your goal. Likewise, within NEP, it's ultimately a feedback mechanism and good communication between coach and athlete that ensures that that plan is successful, and that the athletes doing the plan successfully, and that it's adapted successfully. With the difference in environment, the big change in what we're doing as coaches, what we're going to have to do more is being able to adapt within a week based on people's circumstances, or adapt more of a block of training, if you like, because of changes in the environment. So in lockdown, we could maybe write out 6 weeks and say, right, you're going to do this, and we'll probably hit it quite well. But at the moment, there's lots of things happening, and people have different things on, I guess. So then they might miss a session a week. Therefore, there's a week lost. They might miss a week, and there's a month lost. So then there's no point going towards the plan anymore. So, you might miss a C session here and there, and you're weaker, so you get injured. And we're getting injuries increasing. We're getting motivation lower because they're not seeing as many performance improvements. If you're not seeing progression, then your motivation is going to go down. People are getting probably stressed and annoyed that they're not improving. But then they're getting annoyed that they're doing something else and they're missing it. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on, but that plan has to be done ultimately, and you've got to feel like that it's an achievable plan that you can hit. As coaches, you've got to write a plan that's specific to you and that you can actually do as well. So
yeah. I think for those sort of following the general structure outside of NEP and other running clubs, it's so important that you don't just copy someone else's training just because it's worked for them and they're doing it, because their anatomy and their biomechanics is completely different to you. So it just, it doesn't necessarily work for you, and you either get injured or you won't see the improvements which that athlete's seen, and it doesn't really work. So you've got to know what's right for you. Like, I wouldn't replicate the same session as Kieran because I'm a complete different athlete to Kieran, and vice versa. So it doesn't quite work. So you've got to be accountable and also responsible for your training, that it suits your needs for your goals.
Yeah, exactly. As coaches, we can guide you towards something and tell you to do something, but ultimately you got to do it. If you don't do it, then wasting our time, wasting your time, and no point. But yeah, I think actually the scenario of copying someone's training would probably have worked better in lockdown. It actually wouldn't work as well so much now because people's lives are so different. So yeah.
Everyone's got
more.
everyone's got all sorts of commitments, and an example of that is me and you, Kieran, because obviously we coach from 9 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Really, we coach basically all day. So our training and our structure has to fit around that. So ours changes every week. So if you were to look at my training, look at your training, someone else try to copy that, ultimately it wouldn't work because it doesn't fit the availability of life that you have compared to someone else.
No, exactly. A good point, I guess, saying that what we do, what would help is that you factor in specific things in your week and you stick to that each week. So if your week changes all the time, then it's going to be very, very hard to stay disciplined and focused when you've got so many variables changing. So for example, we take out a block of work every Tuesday, Thursday to devote to a hard quality session for us to. And we stick to that every week regardless. We don't book any coaching slots in. And we have 2 hours where we train our absolute everything off, Tuesday and Thursday. And then a Sunday morning, we're out with the NEP long run group, and we're out there for 2 hours doing our thing. So every Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, our quality days are done regardless. The stuff around that is a bit more variable, but we know we just got to get a lot of miles in. So we run with people, we do this, we do that, we wake up early. But yeah, having the core principles in the week that never change is absolutely vital to staying on track.
100%, yeah. And it's also being consistent and being accountable for other people as well. who may be struggling, and they can be accountable with you working with other people, because it's an individual sport in a team community, and without other athletes, you won't see the potential that maybe you want to see.
Yeah. I don't know which one we're on, me or you, but I do have another one.
Go for it.
Your motivation is guess not comparing. I put this on a post the other day, but it's not comparing yourself to other people. So what we're struggling with in the dynamics at the moment is that because there's a lot of group work, people are comparing themselves to someone else. Therefore, they're either training too hard, they're giving up because they're dissatisfied with the competition level, or they're not as good as someone else, or they're doing something extra in a week that's actually inhibiting them. And there's a lot of this going on. And I think the number one thing is that you can't compare yourself to someone else, because you're on your own path, and that's the whole point about personalisation. Like us two, I guess, we're both doing different things.
Yeah, I almost imagine it as sort of a wheel on a car, and everyone's on a different training cycle. And if you're at the bottom of the training cycle where your fatigue's maybe the highest point it has been in a few months, and someone else is at the top of the training cycle where they feel fresh, you can't compare yourself to that athlete, because ultimately your complete stage of the wheel. What you've got to focus on is keep moving forward on your wheel, and that's obviously what I say about the consistency. I know you're shaking your head because I love my
almost as good as the cake.
I think it's brilliant though. Keep
Cakes
moving on the wheel. Yeah. And obviously your tyres get flat sometimes as well, so you've got to pump them with your S&C. Yeah.
Not our tyres.
No, not our tyres. We don't have the chance. We're out of there.
when the tyre's cut in half and you've got no chance.
Yeah, exactly. But that's exactly what I mean. You can't compare yourself to it because you're in a complete different training cycle. I mean, I wouldn't compare myself to you because we're going to two complete different goals. I know our last 3 months have been completely different. So, you've got to focus on your own. But then again, it's also about using other athletes to your own training as well, and working off other people for your paces to ultimately push you on in sessions.
Absolutely. But I think the other point, I guess the opposite of that would be that use other people to talk to. NEP community's got over hundreds of people, striving towards different goals, but we're all working hard. Talk to other people who are maybe got a slightly similar goal to you. You don't do the same training as them, but you still talk to them about, how's your hard sessions going? How are you finding, how's your focus at the moment? What tips have you got to sort of help me with this, that, And I think it's good to share what you're doing with someone else as much as possible, really.
Yeah. Also, another point about the motivation, like it's completely natural to go through periods where you are unmotivated. Like if you think that every single athlete doesn't go through that, then you're wrong. Like every athlete does go through that, and it's part of the training cycle. But what's important is to reach out to other people, seek advice, ask questions, get the advice you need to ultimately change that and push on. And obviously we've seen it before where people have been pushing for the last 12, 16 months, and last week was a recovery week for people, the chance to sort of step back, recharge and go forward again, because a lot of people get stuck in that trap, especially with people racing maybe once a week, twice a week, which is ultimately very taxing on the body. So you've got to be careful of that, but ultimately reach out for the advice that you need to seek.
Would that be another point over racing, maybe?
It's a massive point.
I think it's a big disadvantage at the moment, and a big problem within people we're coaching is that people are over raced. I'm not going to name names. Some people just love to race, but I think we're over racing and we're just not seeing the bigger picture of what we're heading towards. And I think it's good to race. It depends on your scenario, I think. It depends on why you're in the sport. But personally, I only race once or twice a month because I like to train hard the other weeks. And you can't train hard and race at the same time. And I think if you're having some bad races where maybe you're trying to train hard and race at the same time, then you're a bit all over the place, and probably you haven't got that constant drive and motivation where you're heading somewhere. It's a bit up and down. And I think when you over race, you get some mixed emotions.
I think you lose that flow of training, and it all of a sudden just becomes wishy-washy all over the place where you're racing every Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Friday. That comes quite hard to deal with because you don't have a necessarily goal. You're just racing the distance. But yeah, it's obviously very hard. And it's obviously what you just said about it depends why you're in the sport. If that's what you want to do, then fair enough. But if you're looking for a performance increase and to maximize your potential, then you're going to do it that way. And ultimately, same as you can. I wouldn't race more than twice a month.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think of it as like a battery, your trainer is essentially charging your battery. And if you're racing every week, you're only going to get 40%, 50% because it just keeps going back down. Whereas if you get a consistent training block, you can hit 100%, give it all you've got, ultimately improve your performance as well in a race, and then go again and get stronger from there.
Yeah. I mean, races are hard, and races are mentally taxing, and it takes some recovery. Doesn't matter if it's a mile or 5K marathon, whatever. And I think when you're racing all the time, you're never really going 100%. Just a bunch of tempo runs, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I mean, fair enough if you use a race as a session. But yeah, how many of you are actually using it as a session, or are you just racing all out? You know?
Yeah, that's obviously really important, and you know it's impossible to race every race 100%, especially when you're doing them back off the back 100 like once a week, twice a week, as I said. So you know you got to pick and choose your targets as to what you want to do, and pick the races where you may necessarily just take it as a slower run just to complete the race, or maybe like a relaxed tempo or a functional threshold pace effort.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think another point, I guess, on way to manage focus and improve motivation would be to log your training and keep a training diary and self-reflect. So I think it's important to look back on what you've done and to see where you're going. I guess linking into the plan aspect would be to make regular notes on how you feel the session went. Where was your head at? Great if you use final surge. I mean, a lot of people don't use final surge enough. And if you're an NEP, you know what final surge is. If you're not commenting on your workout, so you're not commenting on how you felt your week, right, then you're not really in tune with what you're doing each week. Like you've got to self-reflect, and you've got to learn from what you're doing. It's important for us as coaches to be able to see how you feel a week's going and what the changes in mood. Is there any sort of reasons why you're feeling a particular way? I think it's important to log the training and reflect. Definitely.
Yeah, well, ultimately, you've got to see what you're doing, why you're doing it, and where you're heading. You know, and if you're not tracking that, essentially, you don't have the know-how and the literally to be able to view what you've done, to see where you're going.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a few tips for everyone there to take on board. It's all of just a learning process, and we're all in this strange COVID environment we're coming out of, and we're learning and we're adapting to a new thing again. And it's all really hard, and nobody's an expert in this. We're both learning massively each day, and yeah, ultimately, don't put too much pressure on yourself. You know, we're all want to think we're heading somewhere good, and just keep learning, keep working hard. Don't beat yourself up too much when something just goes wrong. It's the right fit.
Exactly, yeah. And don't forget the progress that you've made also in the last year. I mean, some people have absolutely smashed the races and PBs all over the place. So don't be disheartened when maybe a week goes wrong or doesn't quite go to plan, because you are going to get those weeks. But what you've achieved over the last year is brilliant. And, you know, you will get those weeks where you feel down, but ultimately you're going to push on and improve even further if you stay consistent and focused.
Absolutely. We've got an exciting block of work to look forward to. We've got a massive 4-month focus in autumn marathons and Great North Run, finishing off the track season, Liverpool Rock and Roll, and then the start of the cross-country season. So it's a very exciting time. We've got to stay focused, we've got to stay consistent, we've got to build that momentum, we've got to smash our goals, because that's what we're in it for. Okay, so keep at it, everyone, stay focused, and we will catch you on the next podcast very soon. But enjoy this one. I hope you've enjoyed it. And yeah, catch up with you soon, guys. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for listening, guys. Looking forward to the next few months and the exciting block coming ahead. And we can't wait to meet you all in the next month. Take care, guys.
See you there.